crafty friends, it's Sharon Luska here from My Crafty Greetings, and we're here doing a Scrappy Tails video. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. And I pulled out these dies. I absolutely love them. They're heart dies, and I see bridal shower and wedding cards all over these. They're fantastic because they're like 6 1/4 inches wide by 6 inches high, and they're absolutely beautiful. And these are the roses from the bonus. I just wanted to show you that quickly, but I'm going to be using the little tiny hearts. Isn't that pretty? That'd be a great birthday or Mother's Day card too. So anyways, I wanted to show you that I'm using the little hearts. I'm also grabbing the love from the pop-up vase die set. Favorite lettering ever for love. Hello. And then the spinner rose heart die set here. Oh, it's just gorgeous. I'm going to be using that today. So as well, the heart lace cover plate die set is going to make an appearance. So I have my Cut Perfect mat here, and I'm going to be specifically doing a little kind of thing with this here. So I'm doing it so that it's at the bottom because I want my pieces to stay attached to that vinyl mat there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the vinyl mat, you might want to check out my last video. So you can see all these pieces here. I just lifted that up and it left all the pieces in place. Now on the video before that, I laminated some press and seal and made some nice thick sticky sheets. And I'm just gonna take that and stick it all over this so that I can separate out the back piece of this and that all of the cut pieces are just going to be, so that's my Cut Perfect mat. And I'm just going to peel up the paper here, and that's going to leave in all these paper pieces for this rose, and I'll just do it carefully. Of course, you want to wiggle it around too, because depending on the angle of the cut shape, it may pick a corner up and pull things and move it. So you just want to wiggle carefully and go around. All of these pieces are very easily coming out of this die cut, but I just want to keep them stuck down. And so now that I have that done and they're all staying in one spot, I'm just gonna put dots of glue everywhere. Little dots of art glitter glue. And I just got that little bottle off of Amazon. And then what I'm gonna do is I cut a piece of just buff pink paper, and I'm just gonna stick this down here and let that glue set. I'm gonna set it aside. And I already did peel this up off screen. Make sure the glue is completely dried before you do this, and it will stay stuck down to your paper without a problem. So I'm gonna add a second layer of all of these die cut pieces just to give it a little extra oomph. I know I've had a couple other cards that I've done where it kind of had a cameo feel to it, and I just wanted to show you too. Valentine's Day dies and things like that are not just for Valentine's Day. You can use them all year round. So I have another piece of light pink paper here, and I'm taking Victorian velvet and just smooshing it over so it has kind of a blotchy finish, almost like a parchment paper kind of look. And off screen I also added a tiny bit of I can't remember the name of the gray, something pewter. So anyways, I added a little bit of gray into this as well to make it not such a bright pink. So I'm layering that on a 5x7 piece of Nina Solar White. I have another outline layer of Nina Solar White cut from the spinner piece and a nice silver piece. And then I've also got a Thinking of You in charcoal gray paper here, and this is a pearlized piece of vellum. And so I'm going to stick this onto this pearlized piece of vellum. And anytime you're going to be sticking little skinny words that are gluey onto a piece of vellum, you want to go ahead and glue it up, and I'm going to show you just shortly. You want to go ahead and glue it up with a little bit of this Tombow Mono Multi. And the whole trick to doing this, tiny dots. You don't need tons and tons because it's going to be sticky enough. But what you're going to do is actually allow this glue to mostly dry before you even go ahead and stick it on this vellum. And that's going to stop the squish out, that's going to stop the rippling of the vellum, and things are going to go much better. So I'm going to put a little ATG on the back of this so I can layer it onto my white layer. And in order to get that white layer, all I did was trimmed around where the border was impressed in and made my buff piece a tiny bit smaller than my white piece. And then I cut my frame out from the spinner die set, the slimline spinner die set. And that is a piece of silver foiled paper, matte silver foiled paper. And I'm putting a little tape on the back, and then I'm also going to pop it up with some foam tape. So once we get this situated on here, I haven't already glued down that pink background piece, but I'm just gonna get this set into place first. And I'm gonna show you, when I was die cutting this piece, I got some marks here. So that is also part of the reason why we're putting the vellum. There's no reason to throw a card in the garbage. If you do something and it gets some marks in it, see what you can do to disguise it. And this vellum is gonna make it so that nobody is any the wiser and no one can see what I've gone and done with this poor little rose piece. So this is pretty much dry now, and I've got some reversible tweezers to help me get some placement going on here. And I haven't glued down the vellum piece to the back of my card yet, so I can slide it up and down, but I always start with the top word first, and then I put the U underneath, and then I add the of, and that way you're not going to put the of in the wrong spot and have the U bunched in an area that it's not going to fit. So we will flip this baby over and just put a little ATG to secure that vellum in place. And once that's done, then we can go ahead and add it to our card base. Now, I'm sure when you're watching videos, you probably wonder, just like me, where do they come up with these ideas? Like, how does it actually happen that people have supplies and decide to make these things? And I am going to show you how I go and find things that get me inspired to put together the cards that I do. And sometimes it's a matter of sitting down and seeing something over and over again, and I go, hey, that would actually look pretty cool with a card. So I'm just putting on some sequins here just to give it a little bit more, and you'll find at the end of this that I added some little white slim stripes of Nina Solar white paper. So there it is plain. And then I added on some white stripes, but this is where I got this idea from. See this bed frame? I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, hey, this spinner die set from Scrappy Tails has that shape. I'm gonna do the silver and the white and the buff, and I'm gonna make that nice kind of peachy grayish background and add some roses like the bedding. So do you see where I got that from? And that bedroom photo has me inspired for a whole other card technique, hopefully I can get to in a later video. So now this is from another photo on the front of another magazine, and I'm grabbing those hearts out of the big heart set, and I'm going to be taking these hearts here that have the cool little flowers cut out of them, and I also want to grab that little tiny skinny frame that comes out of the lace background die set. That's where I got that black frame. Love it. And so I'm just grabbing myself a U from that same Thinking of You set that I had before. And I've got all my little pieces here, and I am going to get my Cut Perfect mat and my rearranged platform here so that you can see that I'm using it with my Sizzix Big Shot, and you can see how easily this cuts out, and no marks, no warping with my mat or my cutting plates. They're perfect, and everything just falls out perfectly. Cut right through, no problem, even though I had a cluster of dies taped together, and all little bits and pieces come out so easily. So I went ahead and taped to the little shims that I have in here to make this work. And again, you want to check out the last video that I have if you want to see what this is all about. But I taped the shims together so that it's a little bit easier, because I find with the Gemini Junior, you hand kind of shuffle those pieces together, whereas when they're on the platform like this, it is a little more important that they stay together. So I've got the background die here and my Cut Perfect mat. We're going to throw this through, and you can see how my plates don't end up with any marks in them, and of course they're not going to get warped or anything like that, but I will scrape off my Cut Perfect mat from all little pieces that came out of the die cut here, and you can see how perfectly and easily everything is cut, even with a big die like this. There's that little piece that I want. I'm going to grab those hearts. Now, to keep this frame nice and straight, because I'm gluing 3 layers together, I'm actually got a little bit of wall safe or low tack Scotch tape on the corners of each of the corners here, and just refit the frame around it so I can put a bead of glue along that skinny frame, and it's going to make it much easier to line up the second cut of the skinny frame on top of this. Because I don't know if you're like me, I feel like I'm all fingers, and when it's really thin pieces of paper that I'm trying to line up, it never goes the way I want, and the bigger and thinner everything is, the worse it gets. So if you have it stabilized around the piece of paper that it was cut from, it will actually keep this in its nice rectangular shape. You can get it lined up properly. Once you got it lined up properly, pull it off and make sure everything is squished together, that any of the little glue bits that is squeezed out gets rubbed into the paper so nobody sees it. And there we have a nice 3-layer frame that I'm going to be putting on this piece of 5x7 solar white Neenah paper. So I have the love that I cut from the vase die there, the pop-up vase die from Scrappy Tails. And I'm going to glue this down because I'm actually going to layer the love over top of my frame, and I want to be able to situate the U underneath. So we're going to put this a little bit high. So we're going to make sure that the margins on the top, left and right, are similar. I've got my piece of glass to put some pressure on that. And the nice thing about this little thin piece of glass is that I can still continue working over top of it. And if I do get glue on it, I can just scrape it off with a razor blade. So layering up these 2 little U's so that they have a nice thick layer as well. And then I have some brushed silver foiled paper, and I'm gonna just glue that over some gray die cuts of the LOVE that came from the pop-up vase die. So now that I've got that done, we can get the U arranged on first, because you wanna make sure that you work backwards from the corner of where you want your writing to finish when you're putting it justified right, which means if you're gonna put all of your text over to the right-hand side, start with the end of your phrase and work backwards. If you were gonna put it on the left-hand side, you're gonna start with the first word and work forward. And that way you won't run out of room when you're trying to get your composition together here. So with this E, I can put some glue on it, and I'm going to glue it over top of the frame and over top of the flourish from the U. And then when I glue the rest of the letters, I'm actually going to just put glue along the top of the letters and the bottom of the letters so that they can bridge across the frame onto the paper below. So I'm going to layer this beautiful heart die here from the Slimline Rose Hearts Spinner die set, die add-on, and I'm layering this over some just pearlized cardstock, pearlized silver or smoke cardstock, and then I'm also going to take a charcoal colored piece of the other type of die cut that has little tiny rose die cut in here, and I'm going to put that over the brushed silver heart of the same size from that same set. And the black heart that's right in the middle there, that's actually from the lace cover plate die set. And I'm just going to arrange these hearts. Now, you could easily make this card a happy birthday card if you wanted to do brightly colored rainbow hearts. If you don't have hearts, you don't have a set like this, you could do leaves. Take a bunch of different leaf die cuts. I know Scrappy Tails has some great variety of leaves in their 2 different assorted leaves die sets. And you could do a nice little composition, or you could even do like I'm doing, but do them with gray leaves. But I'm doing this card specifically for my husband for our anniversary. And yeah, I'm doing it well in advance of our anniversary, but I was just so excited about it when I got these die sets and I had the idea to do this. So I'm gonna do it and stash it away for him for later on. So just using art glitter glue to secure these in the background. And then I will pop up the rest of the hearts with a little bit of foam tape and stick them on. And I'm just going to kind of make a trail of hearts going across the card. And once you see my inspiration and where this came from, you're going to totally get how this card happened. And I have to tell you, I've been looking at this magazine cover for months and months, thinking what a cool scene it was. And it just kind of hit me, you know what, I would love to make a card that looks just like that magazine cover, or at least that one element on this magazine cover. So I'm just gonna add myself in a couple of medium-sized rhinestones here and a couple of small-sized rhinestones here. And hopefully you've enjoyed my little adventure of non-Valentine's cards that I made today, but you can see that frame picture there. You see what I mean? That's actually feathers in the picture. If you have little feathers, you could do feathers as well. But I hope you enjoyed my adventure with the card making today. And don't worry about your Valentine supplies. They are actually year-round supplies. Enjoy them, love them, and go check out Scrappy Tails selection. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.